At 6 o'clock, this Baton Rouge police officer is talking about a 2013 meeting he had with Sheriff Jason Ard to complain about inappropriate behavior involving one of the sheriff's deputies. The police officer, says he wants to clarify what he calls lies coming from Sheriff Ard.
Red flags were raised in 2013 involving disgraced Deputy Denny Perkins' alleged behavior. That officer says he met with Ard to tell him about that. And our chief investigator, Chris Nakamoto, here now. You sat down with the officer. You have more in this wbrz exclusive investigative unit report.
That's right. Officer Todd Webb says he wanted to meet with Livingston Parish Sheriff Jason Ard to talk about Denny Perkins' behavior. Instead, Officer Webb says after his meeting with Perkins, he ratcheted up his tactics, which sent him to file complaints with his chain of command at Baton Rouge Police and the Inspector General.
I will take a polygraph.
Police Officer Todd Webb says he hasn't slept for 3 days.
It's been gnawing on me.
Still disgusted about what happened to his stepdaughter in 2013 and whether a lack of action by Sheriff Jason Ard allowed his deputy, Dennis Perkins, to do whatever he felt like.
My stepdaughter at the time went to Denny Perkins' house for a sleepover, and she was friends with another child. And sometime in the middle of the night, Denny Perkins crawled into bed with her and another child.
Webb says his stepdaughter now lives out of state and does not share his last name. It's part of the reason why he had no problem identifying himself.
The man part of me.
He sat down Tuesday to set the record straight.
When we found out about it the next day, we were concerned. It's a red flag. We brought her to a counselor. And in going to a counselor, we learned that other inappropriate behavior had taken place, that he would chase her in a room, lock the door, hold her down, and play tickle monster.
Webb says following meetings with her counselor, he scheduled a meeting with Jason Ard.
I went to Livingston, and I sat in his office, and I told him that. I told him everything I just told you. No laws were broken, but it's inappropriate, highly inappropriate. I told him I didn't want Denny Perkins anywhere around my family. I didn't want him being anywhere around my stepdaughter or my wife.
What happened the next day following that meeting caused Webb to notify his supervisors and state investigators.
I left the meeting, and it was a day or two later. My family goes to the gas station, they get out the car, and Denny Perkins pulls around and slow rolls on them in the parking lot. Driving real slow in the parking lot. To me, that's intimidation. So I went through my chain of command. I met with Call Deputy, and Call Deputy called Jason Ard.
The Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office told wbrz in a statement Monday there was a meeting between a BRPD officer and Ard. They claim the officer went to meet with Ard about an affair involving that officer's wife and tickling of his minor daughter. The sheriff now claims that officer did not want a formal investigation or to file a complaint. Allegations of an affair and not wanting to file a complaint, all allegations that are not true, according to Webb.
I know I met that man and talked to him face to face, and for him to lie about it concerns me greatly. I also read an article that they said my stepdaughter crawled in bed with Denny Perkins. That's not true. That didn't happen either.
Webb told wbrz he's speaking up because enough is enough and the lies must stop.
And I also have concerns about the safety of my family, because I don't know what else this man's done. I don't know what's going to play out in court. I don't know if this man may be discharged. I don't know. That's why I feel like it needs to be exposed. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. And I feel by doing this, I can make that happen.
Last week, Denny Perkins and his wife Cynthia were arrested on child rape and 60 counts of child porn charges. The investigative unit uncovered a restraining order was filed in 2011 against Dennis Perkins. Sheriff Jason Ard claimed their office had no knowledge of it, despite us having this stamped document showing they received it and served it. Also, when Perkins was hired, he was considered high risk, and Jason Ard vouched for him, calling him of good character and would make an excellent addition to the sheriff's office. With the sheriff openly calling Perkins a friend and family member after his arrest for unspeakable acts, It's leaving Webb to question whether any complaints that were filed against Perkins were ever investigated.
The reason he lied is there's no paperwork on it.
The sheriff calling it a sad day for law enforcement.
It bothers me because when Denny was arrested, that's not a sad day for law enforcement. That's a great day for law enforcement because good cops did their job, and this guy won't be able to hurt little kids anymore.
Since Perkins' arrest was announced by the Louisiana Attorney General, we have requested a sit-down interview with Sheriff Jason Ard every day. We did so again today, and a spokeswoman told us the sheriff has no further comment at this time.
So have you talked to Jason Ard at all?
Did talk to Jason Ard. He is finally talking, and we do have an interview lined up with him tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. Just before we came on the air with tonight's story, he says he wants to clarify that statement that he issued yesterday involving that 2014 incident. He said he had a conversation with an individual in his office and no one else was present, and he wanted to call it a possible affair.
All right, Chris, and we want to let everyone know that you can see the entire interview that Chris did with Webb coming up in